Hi there, Geoff Coughlin, Scale Modelling Now. It's really good to be able to bring you this box review of the Focke Wulf Fw190A-8 R2 Sternbock, released by Revell, 32nd scale, and this one follows on from the F8 release that they did a little while back. Original Revell tooling and certainly impressive. We've got one good full build review, as I recall. I think Dave Coward did that for us in SMN, so check out Finish Now if you want to see the full build review of that kit, because this one actually is very similar, as you would imagine. The A8 and the F8 were very similar, the F8 being the ground attack version, really, of the sort of Jabbo version of the 190. The A8, of course, is the more sort of fighter bomber version of the aircraft. So what have we got? Well, lots of really detailed sprues. I was impressed with this kit when it first came out. We used it with the Revell support as a central build on one of the recent workshops we did in Scale Modelling Now. And I know that many of you were really impressed with it then. So all I expect now is just more of the same, to be perfectly honest. So let's go on a quick tour of what's in the box this time, starting with the lower wing section. One piece lower wing, as you would expect. Really nice fine recessed panel lines. I think those are really high quality and look really good. I think one of the neat features that I'm spotting across the board is that you've got the options for, as you can see here, drop flaps, which are really nice. Which is good, and I think they're pretty well detailed, to be honest. There's quite a lot of finesse in there. Got the armour plating here on the side of the fuselage, which is also good. Flipping it over, wouldn't expect to see very much detail on the inside because you've got a cockpit tub, which you will see in just a moment. But yeah, all looks pretty good from that point of view. So moving across slightly to the left-hand side here, we'll just go via the clear parts, which are just knocking around here at the front. Interesting this, you've got 4 different canopy options. Essentially, you've really got 2, each posable, either open or closed. But what's interesting is that they've included the armour-plated glass on the side of this option, and you've got the clear option on the right. All perfectly moulded. Those are really nice and crisp, clear, and perfection, with no imperfections, I should say. Moving ahead, I think this again is a decent option. You've got the option of the treaded or non-treaded tyres, which is always good, I think, for 190s. Bit of an option going on there. Got the decent little torque links, rudder pedals, all sorts of things there. So that's a strength, I think, in the kit. Let's move across. We've got that really common centerline tank, fuel tank, which is good. That's really nicely moulded and should come up well. Interesting to see you've got options for retracted or extended tail wheels. Because you'll come to that in a moment, but there's an option to pose this thing on a stand, and Revell includes stand. Not really my thing, but I suppose if you want to do that, I suppose you could, and it's always useful to have that option. And again, you've got options for positionable elevators on the back of the aircraft over here. So let's just swap a couple of these sprues around. You've got really good engine detail here. Now, what's nice about this is that, yeah, really impressive engine. I mean, just about everything you can imagine that you could see in the engine is there, and I think it looks really well detailed. You've got the option, of course, to see it, and that's always interesting, always good. Various panels, engine panels. They're the clamshell ones at the top that open. You've got the underside cowls as well. So I think there's 4 different panels you can open to expose the engine, and that's always really good. But just checking out those cylinder heads, they look really nice, don't they? So I think all of that's good. And then you've got all the exhaust piping, and there's nice little fans, very fine little fans on the front. Simple reality is if you close up the engine, you won't see any of it. The Focke Wulf 190 just has that kind of design, really. But your choice. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. I'm definitely going to get this one built at some point, hopefully soon. I'm definitely suffering from Luftwaffe withdrawal symptoms at the moment, and so I think that's a sense this one coming along sooner rather than later, so keep an eye on build now for that. Yeah, and then we've got the upper wing sections, as you can see over here. So let's have a quick look at those. Again, really fine recessed panel lines there, with the option for slightly positionable flaps and elevators. And rudder, of course, which is always good. And then, of course, you've got that stand knocking around over the back there. As I said, not really my thing at all, but if you really want to add it, you can. Let's just move on then finally to the last couple of things. You've got the decal sheet, you've got a couple of strike-in examples here, and Revell have been really good to give you detailed notes in the painting guide for various options. So they've given you a couple of different options for colouring and so on of the different A8s included on the sheet. So we'll come to that in just a second. But in terms of the deco sheet itself, it looks a little bit more matte than usual. It's a bit unusual. But having said that, it does look good. You've got all the details on there. You've also got, apart from the decals for the dials and the instrument panels, which I'm sure will be fine, anyone that has built Focke Wulf 190 will know that you see very little of the cockpit once it's all buttoned up, even with the canopy open. The main panel sits quite far forward, so I think decals will work perfectly fine with what's offered in the kit. I'm not so sure about the belts, the harness here. You get those included as decals. I guess you could cut them out, stick them onto some metal foil. That could work quite well. In fact, I might try that actually. I suppose the little issue comes with the buckles, that they're not so effective. So you could replace those perhaps with bits of fuse wire, just tiny wire, or you could just replace them lock, stock and barrel for one of the aftermarket items. That's always another option, isn't it? So the decal sheet looks good, a couple of interesting options there. And then finally we've got the instruction book, which is classic of the new Revell style. Got the usual indication at the front for which parts to use, but just ahead of that you've got the colour references. You've got obviously mixes of Revell paints, you can't blame them for that. What's particularly useful though, I mean, it's pretty standard Luftwaffe colouring on this, and in fact if we just go to the back for a moment here, you will be able to see that they've really helpfully given you the RLM numbers, which, 82, 75 the main camo colours on top, 76 underneath, 70, which is the black, RLM 70, which is the black green for the prop, and then you've got various other individual colours. So things like, here you've got the ROT coloured fuselage band theatre marking, so you could spray that, although they offer it as a decal, so that's your choice. And as I said here, you've got those notes, particularly with this red one, and some controversy around Kleiss, Brett Schneider's Focke Wulf 190A-8 and so on. So you can follow that and have a look at that. You've got yellow 3 as well. I like this one. This is also another option, which is good. Of course, you might want to go beyond that and find your own decal sheet too. But all the usual instructions are here with the various options, depending on what you want to do. And you can always add the centerline tank and going from back to front. All the other options that you can see here. Various cowls on the engine that you could open up. Engine is great, really impressive looking engine, that BMW engine, love the look of that. So, I mean, what's also nice, I think, is that it doesn't matter, if you're not into 32nd scale, it doesn't really matter. I mean, even if you're into 48th, this is not a big aircraft, as you can see. Here, the wingspan of that is really not too big at all. And so it just makes up into a really, really nice looking aircraft in 32nd scale, and might well attract some of you who normally do 48, because as I said, it's definitely not too big, which is good for many of you, I know. So there we go. That's a quick look through the Revell 32nd scale Focke Wulf 190A-8 R2 Sternbock. So hope you like it, and we'll certainly be bringing you a full build of this in due course. So check out Aircraft Build Now and Ultimately Finish Now, where you'll find the finished build in due course.